Good, good evening, class. I chose. You can't see it. I chose Batgirl and the Birds of Prey as my library assignment, and what made this a really special comic was it's actually I have never read comics before, so this was actually my first um, graphic novel, and I really enjoyed it, and I actually read it like 3 or 4 times because it was just that good. The team behind it is Julie Benson, Shauna Benson, Raj Antonio, and Marcio Takora. And the interesting fact is, Marcio Takora actually is the artist behind it. So he did the illustrator. As I'm sorry, I'm a preschool teacher, so I actually use the word illustrator, but he's actually the graphic artist behind it. I had when selecting this, I really didn't think I would enjoy this one, and this was my actual last choice. Um, but it's a real good girl power, empowering comic. The publisher, of course, is DC because it's Batgirl and Batman's in it, and Poison Ivy and all the villains. But the story was actually broken up into 6 mini um, stories, and I found this really interesting because I'm used to Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and it's done and over with. But it was 6 acts, and each story was a small story that kind of put together made one larger story, and it was 6 mini comics, but it was so I wouldn't go into the full graphic nature that this is actually a true graphic novel. Um, but each of the 6 were broken up into 6 acts, which were 22 pages. Um, and they looked similar. I'm going to show you what each divider. This is the end of Act 1. They were on a camping trip, and I don't know if you can see that or not. Which I love the colors, the color scheme, and on the character drawings in this comic, particularly, they're so lifelike. Um, but this is the end of Act 1. In Act 1, Batgirl or Barbara was at home, and Dinah which is the Black Canary, and the Huntress were actually on a field trip with chaperoning, and Barbara decided not to go, which was actually good because she actually got a crime fight on her own and enlisted in the help of Poison Ivy and Catwoman, which to me was an unusual choice. But the whole comic is centered on Riddler sending a deadly virus throughout the town of Gotham, and the Black Barbara starts tracking him down and then Black Canary and Huntress actually join in and actually help her, but they enlist in the help of Harley Quinn, um, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman into helping them actually defeat, which it was kind of cool seeing the good guys and the bad guys kind of working together to come together on one common goal of finding the Riddler and stopping this virus. I think the character that surprisingly to me had the biggest character arc was Black Canary. And Black Canary, sorry guys, Black Canary And the beginning really was not accepting of um, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy and um, Catwoman coming on board and helping, and she had to actually learn how to accept them for who they were, and accept that they actually have skills that she doesn't, and helping. Um, I do think that the transition was very well. It was a very unique transition, in my opinion. Each of the stories ended like I showed you on a um, like I showed you. They ended with a picture that kind of gave way of who was coming next, and I didn't have it marked. So forgive me. But in Act 3, Wonder Woman comes in. Act 2 was Lois Lane. Act 3 was Wonder Woman. And it kind of gave you hints into what character was coming next. I did find another thing interesting that I didn't too much care for, that Lois Lane was kind of the mother, her and Clark Kent had kids, had a child together, and to me, it wasn't, I don't know, I didn't like it. I do think that everything within this story, I do believe that the mini comic aspect did work out with this particular comic, but do I think it would, maybe a more serious one like the one I'm writing for the class? Maybe not. The directional flow was excellent. The art and the text and the layout, it puts you actually in the place, in my opinion. You could instantly, you were so intrigued you wanted to keep reading it. Do I recommend this for a classmate? Yes, I think it's a very good starter. In fact, I'm planning on ordering the next one tonight, and to see what actually, what keeps going. What I definitely would like, once again, recommend it to a friend, especially somebody that has maybe a teenage daughter, or someone that is having self-confidence issues, that this would maybe boost their spirits up, make them help. This right here is, like I said, it was an all-girl power, very little men. In fact, Bruce Wayne, and I think the villain Shaman is the bad guy. Riddler's a bad guy. Bruce Wayne's obviously in it, so that's a male, but there's not a whole lot of men in there. The storyline, once again, the whole comic's basically based on Barbara, which everybody knows Barbara is Commissioner Gordon's daughter, but it's also it's Batgirl. And I wish that there was kind of more about Batgirl out there, but she is coming around, and I hope this comic has more comics like this, that where girls can actually get into comic books, and it's not, make it not fully male dominated. But I do recommend it, and I guess I didn't really give a real reason why I'd recommend it to a classmate, but if you're like me and you've never really sat through a comic and you picked up this one, it's a real good starter, and it wasn't so difficult to read. You really kept into it, so I mean, that's why I would recommend it. But other than that, I really think that it's a really, I didn't go into the length. It's 136 pages. I'm sorry, I didn't get in the length. But I hope you read it. I hope you enjoy it. It's on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon Prime. And it's a really good read. So I hope you take it, and I hope you enjoy Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Volume 3. Thank you.